Hi everybody, I'm Scott with Starkey Family, Fixing Rigging Up. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button and make sure you got your notifications turned on. That way you get notified when I put out my next video. Now today, we're going to be changing the antifreeze on my semi-truck. It's a 2007 model Freightliner Columbia with a Series 60 engine in it. Now, I do have a special reason why I'm changing the antifreeze today. It's January right now. I know, I'm in a t-shirt, crazy weather. It's already been changed twice since I think around September, October, that general time frame. I actually had an injector cap go bad. So what actually happened was diesel fuel was released into my cooling system. So I ended up with antifreeze and diesel fuel mixed, which is bad. So anyways, after the truck was fixed, after the engine was fixed, it was cleaned out, and then it was ran for a couple more weeks, and then I dumped the antifreeze again, ran cleaner through it, but this is actually a process. So I wanted to make sure you guys know when I go to dump this, it's going to look pretty contaminated. It takes a long time to get diesel fuel out of your cooling system. I've never come across a good product that actually cleanses really well. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. Now, if there's anyone out there that knows of a product that does a really good job, let me know in the comments. Everybody needs to know this stuff. But as for today, we're going to just go ahead and change the antifreeze. So let's go ahead and get to it. I'm going to show you what the process actually involves. It's not hard at all. So first off, you can change the antifreeze if the engine's cold, but I'm actually against that, and I'll tell you why. When you run the engine, you've got all the debris that's inside the engine block and the whole cooling system, rather, that is going to get stirred up, you know, after you've had the engine running and it's nice and warm and everything. Well, when you have all that settlement stirred up inside of there, when you go to drain everything, most of that settlement's going to come out. If your truck is cold and you just go to release the antifreeze, the settlement's not really stirred up and you're not going to get as much out of it. Now, some people's cooling systems, they do have filters on them. This truck here was not originally equipped with a filter, and I never did install one because I changed my antifreeze enough that I don't need to. Okay, so I know you can buy antifreeze that says it's good for 5 years, 500,000 miles, whatever. In the real world, on a semi truck, you're gonna have so many breakdowns that you're gonna be really removing stuff. Like, you know, if you have a radiator go bad, that's new antifreeze. If you have a hose go bad, or if you change your hoses, that's new antifreeze. So I would tell you to just plan on changing your antifreeze every couple years. That's just what I do. Now, I actually use the Caterpillar brand antifreeze in my engine just because I've never had a problem with it at all. I've had problems in the past with other types of antifreeze. So you guys can use whatever you want. I'm going to use the Caterpillar brand. And I will show you exactly what I buy for this truck. But let's go ahead and get to this. Now I'm going to show you the different ways that you can actually buy this first, antifreeze in general, because some people may not know this. Now this is a 5-gallon bucket. This is how I would absolutely not recommend buying it unless you had no choice at all, like I did. Since there's been a shortage on products, we all have actually experienced that. I ended up having to buy a 5-gallon bucket of antifreeze. Now, this is not practical to fill up in a reservoir tank that is actually up there by your windshield. That can actually get you hurt. Picking this up, falling off the truck, that's no good at all. Now, what this is actually designed for is, and I'm gonna put the video down in the description. This is actually a pump. So what you do is you take this pump and you put it down into the bucket, and you can actually pump your antifreeze. That's one way you can actually do this. This pump I will have listed down into the description, just in case you do want to buy antifreeze like this. Now, did I get a discount for buying it like this? No, I did not. It was actually about the same price. So this is not very convenient at all. So I just wanted to make that clear to you, unless you have a pump. Now this right here is antifreeze that you do need to mix with distilled water. Now you do not want to mix this with water from your garden hose. You don't want to mix it with water from your house or your toilet, a creek, a river, a pond, anything like that. Now this is what you actually use. This is just regular distilled water, okay? Now I am going to put this in my truck this time. I've got this gallon here that's pretty much left. I used a little bit last time, not very much. I'm gonna go ahead and use it to get rid of it. Basically what you do is, this gallon right here, for every 1 gallon of antifreeze that you put in the system, you need to actually pour 1 gallon of distilled water in there. Why do they do this? Sometimes you can actually save quite a bit of money going this route. Distilled water is normally pretty cheap to buy. It doesn't bother me. It'll stretch out the antifreeze, and you know, you don't have to buy as many gallons of the antifreeze just because it is in a concentrate. And like I said, sometimes you can save money doing that. It just depends on if the place actually has it in stock. Most of the time, the places do not have this stuff in stock that I've come across. I just want to make that clear. Now you can order this. If you go to like a dealership or something, they may have it, or if anything, they could order it for you. I mean, it's fine. It's just not as convenient. This right here, I've done this for many years. It's just right now, it's hard to get products in. Now we're to the last gallon here. This right here is a pre-mixed. You don't add any water to this. Basically, all you do is open up your cap and you dump it in. This is actually the most convenient way that you can buy your antifreeze, because you know it's right every single time. Now, here's the drawback on this. You saw the gallon where you have to mix water with it. That's normally cheaper and you can save money with it. This right here is most generally the most expensive route to change your antifreeze. I just want to make that clear, but it is nice and convenient. This is how you want to take antifreeze with you if you want to carry extra with you for some reason. Go ahead and get it where it's already mixed up, ready to go. So the first thing that you want to do is, after you run your truck and you get it warm, actually let it cool back down. Not all the way, just where the truck is warm. Right now my truck is about 150 degrees. You never want to open up your antifreeze cap when your truck is like really hot. Give it a chance to cool down. Okay, that is so very important. I don't want to hear about anyone getting hurt because they decided to shut the truck off and open up the antifreeze cap. These things are pressurized. You have boiling antifreeze that will blow up all over you and scald you. It's not funny. It's not a joke. This stuff will hurt you. If you get it in your eyes, it can burn your eyeballs up. There's just so many things that you can do wrong there. So right now, my truck is pretty well cooled down. When you're actually removing the cap, shake your cap back and forth just a little bit and turn it just a little bit at a time. I would advise wearing gloves. What shaking the cap does is, as you're loosening up the cap, you're getting a gap. And on that gap, if there's any pressure, you'll hear it. So I'm going to be quiet just in case you can hear it. Okay, there was actually no pressure on mine, so that's good. So now, all you're going to do is, you're going to take your cap and just leave it up there. What happens is, this is like any other type of drain. When you're draining this from the bottom of your radiator, you're going to have air that gets sucked down inside. Well, that's going to allow your antifreeze to actually drain out. So it's something that you really need to do. So this is actually the drain on the bottom of the radiator. My particular radiator, it's on the driver's side. Your radiator, if it's ever been changed, it can be on either side of the radiator. So I've got two 5-gallon cans right here, two 5-gallon buckets. that I'm actually going to drain this into. So let's go ahead and start that. I might be able to do it with my hand. Yep. Can you see that draining? It does drain out real fast, but it'll eventually get there. So if you can hear, I still got one bucket that's getting filled up with antifreeze right now. I wanted to show you this. Now, I do use this bucket to change oil with, but I wanted to show you the residue. Can you see the residue on top of the water? Now, you'll see the blackened on the walls. That's just where the bucket's actually stained from the oil. But can you see these little particles floating around on there? That's in the antifreeze. Do you see the tint, the color of the antifreeze? That's really dark also. So it still has diesel fuel in there. It's not even nearly as bad as what it was, but it still needed changed. Animals will drink this stuff and die. Anything that drinks this will die. So my recommendation is putting a cap on your cans. You take it to the nearest parts store. Most of them, you can actually take this and they will pump it out into one of their containers for free. So I've got 2 places in the town where I live that will take this stuff. They'll take oil, take any of these chemicals like this for free, and they actually dump it into their tanks. I'm sure they make money off of selling it back to these oil refinery companies, but for little people like me, that's how you get rid of this stuff. Okay, so don't be dumping this stuff out on your ground. Otherwise the cats, the possums, the birds, you're gonna have a bunch of dead animals everywhere, and that's no good. So it's the next day. It started getting dark last night, so I figured today, while we can see what's going on before I have to go to work, we'll just go ahead and dump the antifreeze in, get the truck warmed up, and check the fluid. So what I'm gonna do is, because I want to get rid of the antifreeze that I have to dilute with water first, we're gonna go ahead and add that in first. Then we're gonna set the pump up with the 5-gallon bucket, and then we're gonna use the remaining antifreeze to top off the cooling system. Okay, so I'm gonna start off with the antifreeze. Now remember, you gotta mix this 50-50. When I used these jugs last, they have about the equal amount in there of water and antifreeze. So what you're gonna do is you're just gonna pour it in. Try not to spill anything, just take your time. Put your cap on. So now, at this point in time, we've got the antifreeze that we have to mix with the water dumped in the system. So let me hop off here and I'll get the 5-gallon bucket. And now we're gonna get the pump and pump it in there. Now when you buy this pump, you're not gonna have that long of a line on it. So I wanna show you what you can do. This is just a 3/4 inch heater hose. Put it over the end and just put a clamp on it. There's not enough pressure on here where it should blow apart or anything. This will give you the added range that you may need depending on how your truck is actually set up, because the antifreeze overflow boxes, or reservoir boxes as you want to call them, they can be in different locations, like up on the radiator or just different places. So I just want to tell you, you can actually do this, but for this application, I'm going to take this back off because we have enough room and it's not needed. So all we're going to do is take the cap off the can. Make sure you got this nozzle pulled out. Take this, there's like an inner lock, just push it through, it's no big deal, and it just sets in place. No big deal. Now I do need a little extra room there, so all we're going to do is we're going to take the bucket and turn it so this is on the back side. Now I've got plenty enough room to reach here. So up here on top, I know you can barely see me up here, but all I've got is this little nozzle. I'm going to hold on to it. Now let's turn it on. And it's pouring at a nice steady pace, not too fast, not too slow. I think this is going to work out really well. And no, this isn't Kool-Aid coming up through there, that's antifreeze. We'll get to see how long it takes to pump out this 5-gallon bucket here. This might take a few minutes, so we'll be right back, but I will let you know how long it took. Okay, so we are currently at 7 minutes and 58 seconds. So it's just now barely pumping into there because it's down at the end of the bucket. So right now for a 5-gallon bucket of antifreeze, we're right close to 10 minutes now. So I'm guessing that between the water and the antifreeze, there is just enough of a thickness that weighs it down. But also something to think about is I'm going uphill with this, so that may be slowing down the force of the pump also. I'm not sure. There was nothing that I saw that showed if this pump was supposed to slow down going uphill and over, or if it was just going down. So at this point there is some remainder in this tub. It's probably about 1/4 of a gallon. So I am going to go ahead and pour that in. Actually, there's probably about a 1/2 gallon left in there. So at this point, let's go ahead and take the bucket off. Now we're going to get the little jugs and manually put it in that way. Now there is one thing important I do want to show you when you're using these jugs. You see this foil? When you get it, make sure you rip it all the way out. The last thing you want to do is for this foil to go down into the jug for you to pull into or to pour into the cooling system. That is very, very, very important. So let's go and grab one bottle here. Now if you're not used to doing this, I would suggest getting a funnel. Make sure when you pour it, you have your bottle poured or turned at the side. That way you don't have any lumping. You see how consistent this is pouring in there? That's because air is not trying to go into the bottle. And it's just that simple. Make sure you put your lid back on the can, throw it off the truck, and grab another one. So basically, we have about between the first 2 jugs, the 5-gallon bucket, and what I just put in there, we've got roughly about 8 gallons that are back in there right now. So as you see, this line is already at the halfway point. So I'm going to put a little bit more in there, and then we are going to start the truck up. This will open up the thermostat. This will get the antifreeze circulating around inside, and that'll actually get all the air bubbles out of the system. Now, what I do want to tell you is, before you ever start the truck, some of these vehicles have bleeding procedures. What that means is, you can't just put the antifreeze in it from draining it out and expect everything to be good. Sometimes there are like bleed valves and things like that are on the engine in different locations. And what that actually does is, when you actually have the level up high enough, you'll turn these and air will come out, and that's how you bleed the system. So make sure before you change the antifreeze in your truck, call the dealership and ask them if there's anything like that, or if you can just put the antifreeze straight in there. That is very, very, very important. Same thing goes on cars, motorcycles, anything that takes antifreeze. So I just went ahead and topped the full mark off. Now on here, you've got to take in consideration there are 2 different marks. There's one mark, let me show you this here. Okay, there's one mark here for the minimum level when the antifreeze is actually cold. Okay, that's the minimum when it's cold, and this is the maximum when it's cold. So make sure you pay attention to that, because if your truck is hot, it's going to read differently. If it's cold, it's going to read differently. Normally when it's hot, this is where you're going to actually have it at, but when you actually have the truck cooled down where it hasn't ran overnight, that is the best time to actually check your antifreeze, is when it's cold. This will give you a true point. So now that we're at the level right here, I'm going to throw the cap on, and we're going to start the truck up. So since it takes a long time for the truck to actually warm up and circulate, you do want to keep an eye on it, so stay around your truck. But right now is a good time to clean your mess up while the truck is running, because you're going to have to let the truck run for a long time. You got to get the thermostat opened on here. So let's go ahead and start the truck up. Now mine, I have to let the speedometer cycle in it where it's automatic, otherwise it goes into a transmission override, which is just basically a safety. But now we're ready to start it. So I just set the cruise control in the truck for 1,000 RPMs, which is revving the engine up, which will allow the coolant inside the engine to circulate much faster. The whole cooling system will circulate around, getting rid of air bubbles. Now this is very important. On your dashboard, take your heat knob, no matter what temperature it is, it can be cold out or hot out, turn your dial to hot. What that does is that opens up everything in like your heater core, and what that allows to do is, if any air went up into your heater core, it'll be able to flow out. If you have that turned to air conditioning over onto the cold, what that does is it cuts off the flow of antifreeze to your heater core, and that won't allow air bubbles to actually get out. Make sure you do the same thing in your bunk unit. You're going to actually do this until the truck warms out, starts blowing out a lot of hot air. And what you're actually looking for is, once the truck is warmed up, the thermostats are open, the whole system is completely open, and that's when all your air is going to be coming out. After we do this, we're going to shut the truck down and let it cool down. So I let my truck run for maybe a half an hour, and I just turned it off. So at this point in time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the truck cool down for maybe about a good hour, hour and a half, and then I'm going to check my antifreeze level. If I need to add any antifreeze at that point in time, then I will add antifreeze. If I don't, if it's in between these lines where I need it to be, then I'm good to go. And this is going to be the same on your truck. Make sure once you shut the engine off, no matter if you need to add or not to this, do not open up your cap while this engine is hot. This stuff is liable to blow up all over you and scald your body. So I want to make that clear. I don't want to hear of anybody doing that. Let your truck cool down before you add any antifreeze to it. And this is a good guideline that you always want to do. One other thing I wanted to tell you, if you end up with an extra gallon of antifreeze that you can carry with you, keep it in your truck. That way, if you do get down the road and more bubbles do release, you have it handy to where you can actually add. Everything should be fine after you allow this to cool down. If you need to add, then you should be fine after that point. But it's good to actually carry an extra gallon of antifreeze, an extra gallon of oil, you know, your primary fluids there. That way, if you're in a jam and you need it, you have it. I'm Scott with Starkey Family, Fixing Rigging Up. If you haven't already, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. And make sure you got your notifications turned on. That way you get notified when I do my next video. Thank you.